I'm your host, Brenda Nyamichaba. Now, the fashion industry has rapidly grown to being something successful over the recent years. And with that said, for a fact, fashion designers play a major role within this growth. But even with that said, the question still remains, what is the future for fashion designers? Well, we'll find that out today as I have fashion designers right here on Metropole Studios, and we're going to find out what it takes to be a fashion designer and the experience so far, just to break down and understand what really is the future of fashion designers. Welcome to Metropole Studios. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me. Now, I'd love to introduce you, but I think you can just, introduce yourself as the fashion designer that you are.
All right. My name is Gladys Kabucho.
Oh, okay.
In the streets, they call me Mimo.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I'm a fashion designer.
Yeah.
My clothing line is called Mimo Wear, where we deal with dynamics of fashionable clothes.
Great.
Especially the African wear.
Yeah, so as I can call you Mimo, that's all right.
Oh, yeah.
I like that name. It's very unique. Now, Mimo, tell me about your journey into getting into fashion. How was it?
Well, I'm those people who actually study for something different, and then somewhere in life you just find yourself.
You're one of those.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who, we had issues trying to figure out.
Okay.
But really, fashion has been an in thing since when I was a kid. My mom was a designer. She did that for part of her life. And then in campus, from that year, I probably thought I'd be something else. And then after campus, that's when it really worked for a while, for about 6 months. Then I just ventured into fashion.
That's amazing. Yeah. I'm actually really curious to know what you were studying in campus.
All right.
Before you decided to venture into fashion.
Okay, peace and conflict studies.
Peace and conflict studies.
Yeah, sure.
Wow. That's actually a complete opposite of fashion designing.
I thought I'd be a diplomat, but it's okay.
You do what you love. You're a diplomat within the fashion industry, right? So, has being a fashion designer been easy for you, right? For the years you've been a fashion designer?
Sure. I wouldn't say it's been that easy, but there's something that keeps you going, So, the fashion design field has different challenges in different seasons, different times. Yeah. And I think being a fashion designer and a young one and an emerging one, somehow it's been quite good times, bad times. Yeah. Yeah, good times because it's something that you love doing. Okay. It's something that has a future, a great future. It's something that is really doing well in the industry. But the challenges are when you're a young person, you're trying to venture into this, penetrating the
question I was just about to ask you.
Oh, really?
Yes, the challenges you faced getting into the fashion space, especially since you mentioned you did it in campus. Yeah. So that must have been a serious experience for you.
Sure.
Do you care to share about some of the challenges you faced when you first penetrated into the fashion designing space?
Well, the very first challenge is actually to penetrate into the industry itself. Yeah, it's been quite a journey because you come into a totally different field from what you have always known. Yeah. And then you find that you're not that person who did it in school, so you weren't introduced to things like shows, to things like, especially when you do it in school, you actually get to shows so fast and all that. Yeah, but it's been hard to penetrate into the market. Yeah, it's been also hard when you make something and you see it somewhere and not you who made it actually. When people just copy you and you can't do anything about it because we are told artist copies, a good artist copies, but now actually it's your brand you're building. And people saw a photo somewhere on the Instagram, and they're there wearing your clothes, and you're not the only, you're not the one who actually made it. I'm
actually very curious to know. I actually should have asked you in the beginning. I want to know about the kind of designs you focus in your brand itself, your company, Mimo Wear, right? Sure. So I just wanted you to tell me about the ideas behind your designs, why that kind of design, and how you came to that concept.
Well, I've always been a passionate person about Africa. You see, even where I was studying in school, it's because I wanted to do something with African stuff and all that. And the African fabric itself, there's something about it that is so unique. So I decided I'll venture into the African wear industry. Yeah, and with the African design, it's because they are, one thing is because they are beautiful. The second thing is because we are Africans, and
why not?
Everyone is actually like, events are there, I need an African wear. And
Wakanda vibes.
Yeah, Wakanda vibes, such kind of thing.
Okay, so apart from you having that desire to design African wear, since you're African, there's nothing wrong with promoting African designs. Sure. Do you think there's actually a big market for African printwear? Because I feel like that's something you tend to see a lot of you know, Kenyans, not even just in Kenya, globally, a lot of people wear Ankara. It's just African print. Do you think there's a big market for African print? Is that one of the reasons why you decided to penetrate into that market? Yeah,
actually, it's one of them. It's one of the reasons. There's so much of African going around, African print going around, and it's not actually in African. It's just also in the world, and you can see in the Western world, people are just having something for African fabric.
It's become a style.
Yeah, in the corporate world, in the cocktails, you see people, you know, at least no matter the kind of event it is, you will find an African print in that event. I can imagine. Yeah, so there's so much of African
Apart
print.
from, you know, the material you use for your designs, when it comes to creating the actual design of the clothing, what drives you towards that? What's the idea behind it? Because I've noticed, looking at your work, you actually work with a lot of women, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yes. I do. Is that a preferable market for you?
Oh, sure, yeah. I love femininity, and I'm a fan of a woman being a woman and looking good. Yeah, so for me, actually most of my designs, they go with collections, especially the previous one that I did, there was a lot of mustard yellow and some African. Yeah, you know, I like that. So it goes with deep inspiration from within, especially if there's something that I think I've been going through for a while, and then all of a sudden there's some light and all that. I'm like, yeah, you know, there's something about yellow and light, and we want to show the people, the women, and the light and all that. Okay,
so I love your work, by the way. It's actually amazing.
Thank you.
Like, is this something you've designed yourself?
This is something I've designed.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, well, I'm going to take lessons after this. I just wanted I wanted you to explain to me the kind of labor that goes behind the creation of your, you know, your looks and your styles.
Oh, sure. The first step there is, of course, the design, the sketching part of it. You will sketch something that is inspiring you to sketch that. And then after sketching, you'll just think of the fabric to use. So there's a lot of fabric scouting here and there. Then there is stitching. Then there is detailing and the finishing. Okay. And then it's a product.
So where'd you get your materials from?
Well, there's a local market in Kenya, especially in places like Eastleigh, in places like Nairobi textiles. Yeah, there are so many, you know, in Kenya there are so many beautiful fabrics. I can
imagine. I think we need more designers exploring that, right? Sure. You being in the fashion space for the time you've been, where exactly do you think the fashion industry in Kenya is going right now?
Well, there's so much, you know, there's so much hope, and the future is bright for the Kenyan fashion design industry, because there are people emerging out of every corner, by the way. Like, people are doing fashion, people are having skills, and in Kenya, there are actually designers who are international, and they make their outfits in Kenya, by the way, just so you know. So it shows that we are, you know, we are equipped with what it takes, and we only need a bit of boosting.
A bit of boosting. That's wonderful. Yeah. Now, another thing I want us to look at is, do you think, you know, there's a certain culture in Kenya right now, even as Africans. So do you think the culture and pricing play a big role in the demand of certain designs within the Kenyan fashion space, for example, the Ankara? So do you think, you know, for example, there's a demand for Ankara, you end up having a low pricing for it or a higher pricing? Do you think that happens a lot within the Kenyan fashion space?
Oh, yeah. Especially when it comes to culture, people love African wear. So the more there's high demand, you will actually make your prices.
So would you make it more expensive or more affordable?
Actually, more expensive to some extent, and more affordable, because it depends on how you work on it, especially if you're a designer and you actually start something from your own inspiration, going up and up and up. Somehow, you know, not unless you have really, if the market allows you to actually do it better in a lower price, you can. But when the market goes, if the fabrics are really expensive and all that, somehow you'll have to hike a bit.
That's amazing. So are you planning to have different collections to go on the runways, like Nairobi Fashion Week?
Oh, yeah.
Or you have other plans for yourself or your brand?
I'm planning for the runways. Like
is that something you're into?
Yeah, this year I want to do, I want to do several of runways. Last year I didn't do so much. I only did one in some Zambian events that was happening. I'm like, see how Kenyan fashion is embraced even by other countries.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Do you think we have an environment in Kenya where, you know, fashion designers are accommodated or accepted within such runways like that? Is it easy for someone like you to get on the runway and showcase your products?
Oh, trust me, it's not that easy. It's not really easy. In Kenya, it's become a place where so and so knows so and so.
Yeah.
So you really have to work hard you know, you need to work your way there, and you need to actually wait for some few months before you actually get there and all that. Yeah, it's not that easy. It's not that easy.
I can imagine.
It's not that easy.
Well, I'm having such an amazing conversation with you, Mimo, and I just want to wrap it up by just asking you, what exactly do you love about being a fashion designer? What is it that drives you to continuously create these new styles each and every, should I say, a month, since you do collections?
Sure, let's say 6 months, 3 months intervals. Yeah, what drives me, it's, you know, it's the passion, and to see how the fashion is so therapeutic.
Yeah.
I feel fashion being a very therapeutic way of expressing oneself, way of just expressing who you are, and that drives me. And to see that people wear clothes every now and then, people love style. So that's a drive.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
It was amazing having you. Right there, Mimo just explained to us what a fashion designer, what it really takes to be a fashion designer, and that it's not an easy space in Kenya. You have to have passion, drive, and really understand what the market is all about. But now let's take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have more about the fashion industry and the fashion designers in Kenya. Stay right there. Welcome back. Now, before we took a short commercial break, we were talking about the future of fashion designers within the Kenyan industry, as for a fact, the industry itself has rapidly grown over the recent years. Now, joining me on Metropole Studios today is Winston Nyabera. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yes, Winston, and you're a fashion designer yourself. We're very excited to talk about your work.
Yeah.
Are you wearing it today?
This is my work.
Oh, nice. So you make tracks?
Yeah, I make tracks and I make basically everything.
That's amazing. So tell me about your designs and the idea behind it.
My designs, I do street fashion. I love street fashion because I grew up wearing street fashion. My mom was selling clothes in a small market in Kisumu called Kibuye. Yeah, so I used to help her sell clothes there. But my favorite clothes were like brands like Fila, Fubu, stuff like that, because I grew around hip hop and stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so with that, I decided to
get into street fashion. So what kind of fabrics do you incorporate on your street fashion, on your clothes?
African print, definitely.
Yeah,
that is always a feature, because it's something that every Kenyan relates with and every African, and it's authentic.
Authenticity is
very important.
Is the key.
Yeah.
So how long have you been designing your clothes? For how long have you had your company up so far right now?
Since 2012.
Wow, that's a long time.
It's been a while.
That's an empire right there.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest? What did you find to be the biggest challenge for you within the fashion industry as a fashion designer?
The biggest challenge basically is understanding that it is also a business. So things like building the capital and knowing how to sell it and market it and all that. Yeah, those are the challenges I had to face at the beginning, because when I started it as a passion. Yeah, I didn't really think that, I'm going to face all this. I just wanted to create this big empire, but I didn't know how I was going to do it.
Yes,
yeah.
That's amazing. Now, for a fact, Winston, the watch you design has a market out there, because I'm pretty sure this is something people wear every day, just going to,
this is easy,
it's very easy to wear. You actually incorporate your designs with something that people wear every day.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know the process behind pricing of your clothes. Like, how do you come to that?
It depends on a lot of factors, but mostly the fabric, the design, the work that goes to designing it, and the process of making it. So all that comes in. Yeah, definitely.
So can I just ask you on the spot, for example, a track like this, how much will it go for? Just in case I want to actually buy one after E-Magazine.
This one is 7,500 only.
Only 7,500.
I'm really affordable.
You had that, only 7,500. That's amazing. So what makes a designer unique in the Kenya market right now? Because there are many designers out there. It's becoming very competitive each and every year. So what makes a person like you unique in that space?
I think the style. Basically the style, yeah. Because like you've seen, every designer out here is doing African print and stuff.
Yes, everyone is.
But it depends on how you pull it off, how you come up with your designs and just how you make them, you know, how it makes someone feel, and the finish and everything, you know, that's very key.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, one thing I wanted to know is, you know, you being a fashion designer as well as a man, do you tend to find yourself turning to having a market of men buying your clothes?
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable making clothes for that market as compared to females?
Okay, that comes as a default because, like I said, growing up, I just loved fashion for the clothes I used to have.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so when I started the brand, I just made a lot of male clothes, and as a default, that became like my main market.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I make women clothes too, and
everything.
come on,
Oh wow, that's good. That's good. So I know for a fact I'm going to come for some clothes after this. We mentioned that obviously the market right now for fashion designers is very competitive.
Yeah.
So what are some of the marketing tools you've been able to use to put your work out there and talk to people about your work and your brand and your clothing?
Social media, that comes at the top. Yeah, social media, and then I also have a website. I also work with other artists like musicians. There's one I work with called Davy Carr. Yeah, so yeah,
I know Davy.
We've been doing a bunch of videos for his music videos, and sometimes I dress him up, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes
I get.
You know, actually, I'm happy that you mentioned music videos because I tend to find that a lot of fashion designers turn to that avenue for revenue. So you have worked with some musicians. Are you planning to do that? Is the market really good in terms of getting revenue as a fashion designer there?
Yeah. Okay. I think for me, since it's street fashion, it's easy for me to get into the music industry too, you know.
Yeah.
Because that's the only angle that street fashion used way back to come out. Because fashion was always looked at as something that is posh and stuff, you know, and Louis V and all that. But then it's not really like that. Even right now, things have changed. We have Virgil, who's a street fashion designer, as the head of Louis V. Okay. Yeah. So we have a lot of changes that are happening.
Okay. Yeah. So Winston, do you think that the future of the fashion industry in general in order for the fashion industry to continue to grow, it's going to be an important role for fashion designers to play in terms of, is the future of fashion based on fashion designers?
Not really.
Not really. Why is that?
Because for me, I'm not really out there as a fashion designer.
Okay.
I'm out there as a brand owner.
All right. All right.
So that's a different angle.
Like that twist.
Exactly. So that's a different angle, you know, if you look at it in that way. So that means that people can come up with brands and develop them to become more than just fashion, you know. Yeah. So it's not really in the hands of the designers.
Yes.
It's in the hands of the people, you know, and what they want.
Yeah. Okay. Just to wrap up our conversation, I want to talk about even that you mentioned that, you know, growing up you watched your mom sell clothes, timber clothes, and it's something that you got interested in. So a while back there was a ban on timber. Yeah, it's still in conversation. It's not something that has gone through yet. But a lot of speculation was that if this happened, then local fashion designers or brand owners like you will be able to have a bigger market. Now, I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on that issue.
Okay, thrift has always been with us, and it's something that has carved some of us, like me, you know, to loving fashion and stuff. But then, yeah, they can ban it, but they also have to come up with regulations that protect us, you know, like copyright issues and stuff like that. Yeah, so they also have to care for our businesses, you know. Yeah, so there's a lot of other issues that they need to take care of, not just one that is public, you know. Yeah, people will still go and buy thrift, even if we have brands. Yeah. It's just that depends on the kind of market they create for us, you know, the kind of market that government allows us to have. Yeah.
Another thing is, you know, most people think they turn to thrift clothing because it's affordable, it's easy to get it. And mostly what they say about local fashion designers, is that the pricing of the clothes are too high. You know, it's too expensive to buy this clothing.
I know,
I'd rather just go for thrift. What do you think about that?
I think it's because basically in Kenya it's really hard to produce number one, finding the fabric is a problem. Yeah, the easiest one you can get is Ankara, so that's why you see most designers
are doing Ankara.
But then if you go like, even this is a sporty material, I had to go and look for it way far, you know. And
I can't even imagine where you find this
exactly,
material.
and actually putting the piece together, you know. So that's another challenge, you know. So yeah, because people don't really know how to use other things, but from what they're used to seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the reason as to why this clothing line, this clothes need to be that much money.
That much money, yeah. But then the thrift is expensive.
Yeah,
now
and
too,
do you think?
And I think people just go for thrift because, like I said, we have problem in production here. So you'd rather go for something that you're sure of instead of going and gambling with someone. Yeah. So we're still in the process of building brands that can actually challenge thrift. Yeah.
And also, do you think as Kenyans ourselves, do we support our own fashion designers or clothing lines and brands like yours? Is that something that's happening right now?
I think we do to some extent, but then not fully. I think we love Western things because they just look good.
They look good.
Yeah. But then we also have to remember that we have our own, you know, we have our own things and we have to relate like Africans, you know. So that is something we have to keep going if we're going to keep our identity. So,
it's true.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah. Now, my last question for you today, Winston, is what would you tell someone who's trying to get into this fashion designing space in Kenya, or just generally the kind of mindset they should have when they're going in to the fashion industry right now?
For young designers out there, I just tell them to take their time and try and learn every step that comes with it. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're running a business. Okay. It's not just fun and looking good.
Yeah. It's a business at the end of the day, so it's something I have to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on E-Magazine today.
Thank you for having me.
Winston, I'm actually coming for my tracksuit after
problem.
this. Well, let's take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at Fashion Express and see the fashion tips we're giving you today. Welcome back to E-Magazine. Now it is time for Fashion Express, where we share little fashion tips with you, just to keep you trendy as the fashion continues to grow. Now, for a fact, it's been really rainy, and rainy season is going through around this month and even the next month. So here's some fashion tips of how to dress during this rainy season.
Never give it to you. Never been so existent. You can't know unless you feel it. Come back by a second. From no one to no waiting. I get this pain when you're leaving. Never felt this before. Never felt this before. This is being on my back. You save me, light into darkness, cut on the sharpness of your heart. Never been so excited, falling into you. Never been so resistant. You can't fall unless you feel it. Come back, body second.
I'm mad you wearing like a pajama sweater.
It's not a pajama sweater. It's literally like a regular.
Okay.
It's not a pajama sweater.
It's so graceful.
Well, right there is how to dress in this rainy season and still stay trendy. I mean, not every girl likes to freeze and shine, especially not me. So make sure you take a look at those tips and do try them out. Now, let's take a look at some of the news that made it to our entertainment news today. You can now book appointments directly through Instagram and Facebook. Facebook announced on Tuesday that it is rolling out a feature for businesses and their customers that allows users to book appointments directly through Instagram and Facebook. Facebook has been testing this feature for a while, but now the ability to request an appointment on the user end and confirm it on the business end is going wide. Facebook began testing business action buttons in May 2018. It specifically rolled out tests of appointment booking buttons in December. Now the feature will be available on Instagram to all businesses worldwide. To add Book Now capabilities, Book Now capabilities, businesses can go to Edit Profile, then click Add Action button and select Book Now. Now, moving on to our next story, Disney confirms release of Marvel movies by the end of 2022, including Guardians of Galaxy and Black Panther 2. If Avengers Endgame's conclusions left the Marvel fans in you feeling lost and empty, then fear not, because the studio has promised to release 8 new movies by the end of 2022. The latest epic Avengers film was a accumulation of the past 22 installments of the 2 franchise, and this summer Spider-Man Far From Home is set to round off phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, although many fans have done their best to speculate about what exactly might be in store for the phase 4. In true Marvel fashion, we have little to go off in terms of plot points. Now, we have reached the end of E-Magazine. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you do the same tomorrow and Friday, as we have a lot in store for you. It's a goodbye for now, but do enjoy the rest of your viewings.